Everybody was excited for Keaton Mitchell to take the field for the Baltimore Ravens in 2025. Well, he was inactive in week one, and John Harbaugh pretty much extinguished a lot of hope that he could be out there in a big capacity this year. And that might not be the right decision for the Ravens. We talk about that. So much more coming up on Locked On Ravens.
You are Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Ravens. Welcome into the show. I'm your host, Kevin Oestreicher of Ravens Wire, here with you on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks so much for being here and making Locked On Ravens a part of your day and your first listen each and every day. And thank you to all the everydayers out there, the first-time listeners. If you're somewhere in the middle, thank you as well. Jam-packed episode today. John Harbaugh buried pretty much all Keaton Mitchell hope for this season, possibly unless there's an injury. We'll talk about what Harbaugh had to say in his general comments in the first part of the show and why I think Keaton deserves a shot. Secondly, we'll talk about the NFL world ripping the Ravens coaching and their staff from obviously that collapse in week one against the Bills. And then we'll dive into concerning trends from the Ravens week one loss. We'll talk about what they have to do in week two and a lot more. Again, appreciate everybody for being here and want to remind everyone today's episode of Locked On Ravens is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Here with me today from Missile Training, missiletraining.com, and of course, the Locked On Ravens squad show, which we're moving to Wednesdays during the season. We don't want to interfere with Thursday Night Football or any of that. It is former Baltimore Ravens wide receiver and Super Bowl champion Qadry Ismail. And Q, we've already talked on the squad show after the game on Sunday night, or I guess Monday morning, and I know it was a very late night stream for all of us on Sunday night, but now we are here. We've had a couple of days to kind of look back on the game, evaluate what happened. Still doesn't feel great, but all you can do, I guess, is flush it and move on.
I am saying it in this regards. I think if you want to have hope in this season, then you need to look at the elephant in the room. I think the elephant in the room has to be how John Harbaugh goes about his business of managing games, period. It seems like there's a theme every year, whether it be 2-point conversions, whether it be your defense and what defensive pressure looks like or not looks like. What is it that you're doing to get guys in or not in? How is the management of the game from moment to moment, situation to situation? If we're relying upon metrics, that's one thing, but you also got to rely upon feel. You also got to rely upon the actual tactics and make those decisions. I think that is something it just seems like a theme every year. So there's a ton of football left. The coach speak is to say, just one game. We've got to learn from it. Oh, let's move on. But we also know that there are times where coaches hold players accountable across the league. We know that there are some guys who have been either benched, released. Other guys have been promoted into different spots because of their performance. I think that's the same thing when it comes to football teams that are built to win, that are built to be a now type team. You need to look at the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room, everything has changed. The only thing that hasn't changed is John. And I think that tactically speaking, what are you doing to help your team play better?
Yeah, and I wanted to get to what Harbaugh had to say about the fourth quarter leads being blown and the whole nine in just a minute. I just want to dive first with you into the Keaton Mitchell comments that Harbaugh had to say, because again, it's kind of just like the personnel decisions you have to make. The Ravens clearly chose to make Keaton inactive in week one. Now, again, rushing wasn't a problem for the Ravens in week one. I mean, Derrick Henry ran all over the Bills and it was fine, but Harbaugh had comments about him that essentially sent the message that might not have a big role, maybe not even a role for the Ravens this season. He was asked what went into the decision to scratch Keaton, and he said, you just can't get everybody up on the game day roster. You got to make a decision about who's going to be up and who's going to be down. Said you're going to take Derrick Henry off the field, and you would have to take Justice Hill off the field to do it, and those are all going to be designer plays. And he said that's what Keaton does right now. He runs kind of the designer plays. And he said that in special teams, he does okay in special teams, but he'll tell you he needs to get better in that area to justify the spot. Otherwise, you're going light in a couple of other areas. So not a lot of confidence, it feels like, from John Harbaugh in Keaton Mitchell. And I think everybody kind of assumed, Q, that he would have some level of a role, like 4 to 5 plays, 5 to 6 plays. Maybe he'd be out there. He can utilize his speed on the field in certain spots. And, Harbaugh said the defense is going to be like, what's he out here for on the 4 to 5 plays he's actually out there? So not a vote of confidence. And I think the Ravens should give Keaton a shot in some way, shape, or form. But clearly, Rasheen Ali is a big part of the game plan. He's on that kick return team, and I thought he showed some burst. Going for running backs, usually it's hard to activate all 4 of them. And I guess it's unfortunate that it feels like Keaton is going to be the odd man out this year.
It's interesting because recognizing that you only have a limited amount of spots on game day to have your active roster. If you're John Harbaugh or any other head coach, you're trying to get your best players out on the field. And in that best player scenario, you want your most explosive players at each position. Explosive in your blocking, explosive in your tackling, explosive all the way around. Who can be an impact to your team's performance? And I think for Keaton, fan base wise, we saw that the rushing attack wasn't as explosive. So what do? You get this kid, he gets an opportunity, and homeboy just showed out. He was amazing. He got injured. It's a devastating injury. You're looking at another guy in Justice Hill who was having his own injury issues. But what did he do when he got his opportunity? He showed out. He was productive. We remember when, playoff time, he didn't pass protect well, and that kind of put a little doubt whether or not he was going to be around. That next year, we didn't hear much of anything. I know I didn't say anything regarding his ability to pass protect because he was on point. He made sure that you will not take me off this field because of my pass protection. Now, with that said, he also was a very valuable asset in the passing attack, as well as when the number 1 running back, Derrick Henry, needed a break. He was extremely productive. Keaton Mitchell, there's no way he's going to be able to get on the field when you're talking about those 2 players, Derrick Henry, Hall of Famer, and Justice Hill, who we just said has been phenomenal. So special teams wise, does he have speed? Does he have breakaway speed? Sure. I don't know. I haven't really put my eye on it with regards to his punt coverage ability or his punt return capabilities as far as him blocking. Clearly, LaJohntay Wester is the punt returner. The kickoff returner, we know it's an opportunity or would have been an opportunity for Keaton to be in there. So there's that. But I just don't see him being able to replace a guy from a punt coverage, because that's what he'd be doing, as a gunner. I guess that's my way on the field. Like I'm going to show you that I'm fast, but I'm also going to show you I'm fast enough to go down and make tackles. And then kickoff, I can show you that I can go down and make tackles and plays in that regard. If he can't, which clearly John Harbaugh and the coaching staff feels he can't, then he's going to be inactive. I mean, that one is a pretty cut and dry decision, even though I know the fan base really loves his explosive capabilities, which we saw on display when we were looking for this team to have a spark. He created that spark. Now he has to kind of sit back and wait his turn. Again, the biggest thing that everyone is saying and understanding is your best ability is your availability.
Yeah, and again, with the way that Harbaugh talked about it, like and everything that goes on, and even with the way he talked about Ali during the preseason, he's like, hey, he's a starter on multiple coverage teams, and the return guy, obviously one of them, that's going to be his spot. I just think it's unfortunate because I think Keaton can really help them. But as you said, you only have a certain amount of guys you can put up on game day and activate on game day, and 4 running backs is always a really tough spot. If they did activate 4, does that mean like Jay Higgins becomes inactive? Do you make Keon Martin inactive. Like, those are the types of decisions. And I think there's a great argument to make Keaton Mitchell active. I mean, rookie season, before he got injured, he was second, I believe, in yards per touch behind Devon Achane in Miami. Like, he's shown that he's a quality player, but sometimes, like Harbaugh said, it just comes down to the numbers game. And I think it's unfortunate that he's not getting an opportunity, but clearly the Ravens feel like they have the numbers game figured out, and Keaton kind of got the short end of the stick there. So, there's a lot more about John Harbaugh's comments that we can get into and talk about. The one cue I know that everybody's talking about is John Harbaugh's answer from Monday on the fourth quarter blown leads. And it's pretty controversial, I would say. He eventually got to, I think, where Ravens fans wanted him to get with the answer, at least somewhat, but there was a part in that I feel like didn't necessarily endear the fan base to what he had to say. So coming up, we'll talk about that, as well as a lot of other comments about John Harbaugh and the Ravens coaching staff from NFL players, current and former. So be sure to stay tuned. We got a lot coming up on Locked On Ravens. First, the show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel's making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. You got player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays. And obviously a disappointing way for the Ravens to end their week one with that loss of the Buffalo Bills. And right now, the Ravens, Bills, and Eagles are all plus 700 to win the Super Bowl. That's the best mark on FanDuel right now. Green Bay comes in fourth at plus 800. Look, I still like that Baltimore number. I know it was tough in week one, but the roster is still there. Long season ago, Baltimore, I still think has a chance to win that Super Bowl. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. And the show is brought to you by Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 28,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Need parts fast for a project? Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. The part finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters, and their Trademaster perks like priority shipping, dedicated support, make the whole process so much smoother. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHNFL5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Moving along on Locked On Ravens, Kevin Ostraker and Qadry Ismail still here with you talking Ravens football. Again, appreciate everybody for being here. We're a 5-day-a-week Ravens podcast, Monday through Friday. We also have bonus episodes on the weekends. We have instant reaction episodes after games. We do watch-alongs during games. If you want to go back and watch my reaction, you can see my soul leave my body over the course of the last couple of minutes of that Bills game. It was a very brutal experience, but you know what? We had fun with the community and diving into everything on there, Q. I'm sure as this was unfolding, Q, what was going on through your mind? I mean, were you just like, are we seriously here again? Is this seriously what's going on?
I honestly was like, they need to make a play. They need to somehow, some way, for all that is good in the land of purple, stop the bleeding. And they were just hemorrhaging, and there was just no way they were going to clot it up and gain back momentum. Like I was shocked. I was ready for something to turn around, and unfortunately, you're looking at Derrick Henry just do the improbable, which is fumble. And my God, Oliver is an amazing player, but that dude, he put himself on the map week one. Like, if dudes don't vote for him in the Pro Bowl off his week one performance, then yeah, I mean, sure. I think Matabike and Washington, all them fellas, they better be looking at homeboys tape, be like, yo, so that's what the three technique's supposed to be doing? Well, whatever I thought I was doing, I think I need to step up my game and do what he's doing because he was all over the field. And oh my gosh, like I didn't. In all disclosure, I know you're transitioning to your next question, but let me say this: that 4th and 3 when Lamar, I was running off the field because I was cramping. I don't think it was run off the field because I was cramping. I think that was him in a sense of saying like, "Holy F. Scott Fitzgerald." I got rocked.
Oh yeah.
My body was like, what just happened? Let me recollect my thoughts. That's why he was going off the field rather than, oh yeah, I got some low electrolytes. Unless Oliver just knocked out all the electrolytes in him. But my God, man, like that was yeah. Okay, go ahead, transition.
No, that definitely one of the hardest hits Lamar's ever taken in his career. He got absolutely rocked. And, you can make the argument maybe could have been roughing the passer or a flag. Maybe some of the quarterbacks would have gotten that, but you know what? Didn't happen. The Ravens decided to punt, and the rest is history there. But let's go into Harbaugh's comments a little bit. I talked about this on the show yesterday a little bit. And Harbaugh, when asked about kind of the fourth quarter leads and the trends that have been happening over the course of obviously not just this year in week 1, but a lot of other times. He said, quote, maybe part of it's the fact that we've been ahead a lot. We've won a lot of games and we've had a lot of 2-score leads. We've kept a lot of those, but I think we've lost 6 of them, if I'm not mistaken. That's too many. I don't care how many 2-score leads you have. I do believe that we need to be really thoughtful of how we decide we're going to approach those situations going forward. And again, it became an answer of like, hey, we need to do better here, right? We need to be intentional about this. But in my opinion, Q, I don't really care how much you've been ahead or how many 2-score leads you've had. The blown leads are the blown leads. And Harbaugh has been the coach that has blown the most of them over the course, well, since at least 1991 is the stat. 17 second half blown leads of double digits, which is just unreal. Ben Solak, who actually used to work over at the network here, and, he was great, and he obviously is doing great work over at ESPN now. He gave another stat, which I think just absolutely blows my mind about John Harbaugh, and I'm trying to find it, but essentially what he said was the Ravens have now lost 8 games since the 2021 season, in which they at one point had a win probability of at least 90%, 3 more than the next closest team. And the Ravens in this one notoriously had a 99.1% winning percentage at one point. That was the highest they got. How do you kind of take John Harbaugh's comments on this, Q? I think the fan base was not happy, right? You could tell social media, everybody, like it felt off to me, but it didn't surprise me. You know why? Because John Harbaugh has taken this exact approach before when asked about certain things, but hey, we've been ahead a lot, or we do this really well a lot. But I think that doesn't necessarily address the issue itself, which is it doesn't matter how much you're ahead. When you blow leads in big spots like you have, that's the storyline.
Every team doesn't deal with it. Not when you're in professional football and you've gotten a lead, a considerable large lead. That is where it's appalling, the statistic of how many times, like,
right,
once you get the lead, there's a reason why Tom Brady is 33-3 versus the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, it's not to the magnitude, right? Not to the magnitude. That's what I was trying to say.
You see what I'm saying? Like, mother of pearl. Like, I can see, we were up by, 3, and boy, that double move.
Right.
We got to let our corner know next time, don't take the cheese and just play conservative. You know what I'm saying? Like, what? Oh, well, yeah, that tackle for loss, we didn't see that backside guy come in and, the quarterback fumbled it, and, yeah, they scooped and scored. Like, we're talking, like, these are double-digit leads that, like, momentum is just snatched from you, and that is just unacceptable. Like, mother of pearl. So, yeah, John, I think, did some coach speak there, and, I'm admitting I am, showing the fan base that I'm hey, I am up on it all. I get it. But at the same time, yeah, I'm going to tell you a whole lot of nothing. Now, I know behind closed doors, I've heard it from so many players and ex-players that mother of pearl, he does do his Jekyll and Hyde thing where he'll get on guys, he'll get on coaches, he will, but I'm curious, is he getting on himself? And that's the thing, because in game there's something amiss there that he's not really plugging into when this same pattern keeps repeating itself. That's the troubling element for me.
John Harbaugh has influence on how this team runs, right? He is the head coach. Head coach John Harbaugh is his title. So yes, Todd Monken is the one calling the plays. Zach Orr is the one calling the plays. But that doesn't mean that they don't have meetings, discuss about, hey, I want to do this. Let's try this. What do you think about this? And then John Harbaugh says, yeah, I like that. Or what about this? Maybe we try this. And so it's the influence. And look, I'm not saying Todd Monken and Zach Orr don't deserve blame for some of this. Of course, it's a holistic thing. I'm not going to only blame John Harbaugh. I'm not going to only blame Todd Monken. Like, everybody has a role to play. How big is the role for each person? I think that's obviously what people are debating right now, whether it's execution, coaching style. But a lot of people, especially in the sports media world, have brought it back to the coaching. And one of those former players who you have obviously played with, Q, and Chris Carter, he had comments on John Harbaugh saying, quote, Harbaugh has been absent on the sideline for the last 4 or 5 years. I'm concerned about their whole defensive system, and not last night, but what I've seen the last several years. They don't have an identity as a defense. And when you don't have an identity, that's going to dictate going for it more on fourth down, even if your quarterback is compromised. That is a scathing statement, by the way, from Chris Carter. Harbaugh's been absent. These moments should not be happening, especially to a quarterback in Josh Allen, who is one of the few in the league that can easily, when you leave that door cracked, Josh Allen's one of those quarterbacks, much like Lamar Jackson is too, that can bang down that door and say, yeah, you played with us. Now you're going to regret it. And that's what I feel like the Ravens, it's in the big spots, in the big moments. They're a different team. They go away from their identity, and that's been a huge issue.
What is the identity? Joe Flacco in his prime, Lamar in his prime. Both players had different coordinators, different defensive coordinators. You referenced Wink Martindale, and I think Wink was with both. The only common denominator is John Harbaugh. So it's not open season on Lamar Jackson because he played like lights out amazing. Derrick Henry, man, possibly we're not having this conversation if you holding it high and tight. Is there something to be said to tell him, hey, hold it high and tight before you go out there? Is there something to be said to talk to, Zach Orr, Marlon Humphrey, Roquan Smith? What's up with Roquan anyway? Like, bro,
been rough.
Like, there were a couple plays there where I'm like, good God, the guard must be like, yes, I get to block Agent Zero.
Well, I'm even saying on the James Cook play where James Cook took it, I don't know if he was trying to like punch the ball out or like I don't know what he was trying to do.
And that's just not, he is like he was one of the more sure tackling linebackers where there are times when he's gotten blown off the ball or he's taken on a block and like taking a wrong angle. And, that guy that was, we saw come out here and play versus New Orleans, like, where's that guy at? Last year was like, okay, it took him a minute. Then he kind of came on. But, this year, come on, bro. Like, what's up? Like, I went off on a tangent on that one, but that's what I'm saying. It's like, all right, John, you head coach, you tell your players. Jair, like, bruh, don't be buddy-buddy with him. And I'm not saying he's buddy-buddy. I'm not in that locker room. I'm not, going to be like, John, you're too friendly. I'm not saying any of that. But I am saying that, yeah, you're going to hold people accountable. You want to push buttons. Well, that in-game button pushing got to be on point. It's a win-now team. John Harbaugh has to figure out the Andy Reid, Nick Sirianni win-now philosophy.
The most disappointing part to me out of all of this is the fact that we heard all offseason, you and I talked about the comments from the coaching staff, from the players about how they understood, they were ready, they were motivated, they weren't going to let last year happen again. They're tired of finishing where they've been finishing. And then you don't even get through 1 week without being right back to that narrative that you have formed for yourself and what everybody's talking about. And I know it's more geared towards the postseason, but it's the general perspective of sometimes in these big moments, the Ravens just lose themselves. They just absolutely lose themselves when it matters. And it results in losses that, again, this is a loss in September that they can bounce back from. Season's not over. They're 0-1. They can obviously go on a run and still be a really, really good team. But, we saw last year that they lost games they shouldn't have lost to teams they shouldn't have lost to. They win one of those games, they're hosting the divisional round instead of going to Buffalo. And that could make all the difference. So, as I always say, September losses don't matter in September, but they certainly do matter in December, in January. So coming up in the final part of the show, we'll dive into more comments on John Harbaugh and the Ravens coaching staff from former players, as well as some concerning trends that the Ravens can hopefully buck in week number 2 against the Browns. Stay tuned. A lot coming your way on the show. First, this episode is brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Now, Mazda, they deliver confidence with every ride with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breath work, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings this same intention to how they craft every model. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. And you can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Back here, Locked On Ravens, Kevin Oestreicher, Qadry Ismail, still diving into Ravens content and coverage. We'll be back later tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, with the Locked On Ravens squad show. It's Q and I, and then Sam and Joku breaking it all down. Might have to find a new nickname for Marlon Humphrey and Jair Alexander. I think, you said Michael Jordan, Q. We might have to bring J-Lo back out from the cabinet.
No. You right. You absolutely, bro. They ain't looking like J-Lo. Yeah, we need to figure that out quickly. They looking like J-Lo.
Yeah, Jair had a rough one for sure. It was not good.
Oh man, like if Marlon either A, does what is football 101, protect the sideline at all costs, that's one thing you don't got to worry about, because the butt never hits out of bounds or whatever. However, the guys in New York said that there was 1 second left on the clock. Jair, if you just play coverage the correct way and not sit there and fold under pressure, especially after, training camp, when you were locking guys down and doing your signature, this is about a seatbelt, not a, samurai sword. Well, the samurai sword is dull and broken. And maybe it's a carbon fiber rather than a high level, pure titanium blend of adamantium. Homeboy needs to go ahead and recheck his doggone lockdown corner credentials. What are we doing? Come on. J-Lo needs to step up.
Yeah, 1,000%. Jair needs to be better. The whole secondary needs to be better. The whole defense, the whole team needs to be better. I mean, Lamar played pretty well. So did Derrick Henry and Zay Flowers, but most of the team needs to be better. But it's a team sport, and that's how you win. That's how you lose. Now, before the Monday night game last night, or 2 nights ago, Ryan Clark, Jason Kelsey, and Marcus Spears, they talked about the Ravens and that collapse, particularly towards the end of the game when they decided not to go for it on that 4th and 3 in that final drive even. And obviously we know the cramping or the Ed Oliver hit that I guess denied the Ravens that opportunity in the first place. But Ryan Clark said, quote, let's let's make you make a decision. They said, we're going to line up. We're going to hand the ball off to Derrick Henry and make you call your timeouts. Todd Monken tucked his whistle and he didn't say, let's go get it. Jason Kelce said, why are you not on the first two plays making Lamar Jackson a threat? And then Marcus Spears, former Ravens defensive lineman, said, you go condensed formation and you've got Lamar Jackson back there. Todd Monken swallowing his whistle. Fine. This man, meaning Lamar Jackson, some space pre-snap and live and die if you don't get it by Lamar Jackson, taking care of the football and trying to go make a play for 3 yards. I think the Ravens, sometimes they get too cute. It happens too often where they have two generational talents in that offensive backfield with your quarterback and your running back. And sometimes they will motion Derrick Henry out of a play in a big moment. In this game, they did not make Lamar Jackson a threat on a couple of plays when he was dominating the Bills. It just can't continue to happen. Again, John Harbaugh, he's getting all the flack, and obviously a lot of that is deserved based off how the trend has gone. But again, calling those plays, Todd Monken has to be better in those situations, because I thought there were moments where he was not great, and unfortunately it happened in a big spot.
Remember last year's Cincinnati game in overtime? What closed the deal was a simple toss play to Derrick Henry, and that simple toss play pretty much sealed the game. I think it was like Geno Stone who made a game-saving walk-off touchdown. Obviously, Justin Tucker goes ahead and kicks the field goal, so it really didn't matter. But my point in saying it is this. I disagree with all of that. I think that Derrick Henry was more than capable of handling his job, and Oliver just Oliver'd him. Okay? The blocking scheme was bootleg, and if Derrick Henry, one of the kryptonite-ish things that happens with Derrick is if you stunt him at the line before he can get momentum going, you normally will see the defense win that battle. It's when he gets into that right past the D-line, that's when Derrick Henry is the most dangerous running back in the league. But when he's right at the line or behind the line, he pretty much is like every other running back, and that's his history. So at Oliver, you got to look at our Ravens offensive line, and again, that 4th and 3, you also looking at Oliver like rocking Lamar Jackson. So I mean, that whole cramping thing, maybe I would have called a timeout and had Lamar collect his thoughts and kind of assess his body, and then be like, all right, hey, we all need to like regroup and figure it out. But that's a coaching decision that needed to be made. But I have no problem with giving the ball to Derrick Henry the way they've given it to Derrick Henry, because they've done it before and he's closed out games. So miss me with all that. That's just some generic talk that that's, if it was Flock Nation, it's one thing, but that's just talking heads that are trying to be, get a hot take.
Yeah, again, I don't have an issue with giving the ball to Derrick either. I just think that on some of these plays, and it goes beyond the final drive. I think I would have expanded it if I was there on that panel to be before the final drive, but it just felt like, the conservative play calling on a lot of those situations, you weren't making everybody on the field a threat like you were earlier in the game. It was a clear shift in what we saw from when they started rolling on offense to when they were trying to essentially get done with the game and say, we're out of here. And that to me was where they didn't use everybody on the field at their maximum potential. Some plays it was Lamar, some plays it was Derrick Henry, some plays they didn't get other guys involved if they needed to. And I think that was the big concern for me, that hopefully they will not have to deal with in week 2, because hopefully it'll be better. They need to be better in week 2. So Hugh, I appreciate you. Thank you for hopping on. Before I get you out of here, how you feeling about that week 2 game against Cleveland? And of course, tell people where they can find you and what you're working on.
Yeah, I tell you what, that week 2 game is going to be interesting. A lot of celebration for the Ravens as a franchise with their 30-year anniversary. And obviously a lot of former teammates are going to be coming into town and checking them out, and be great to see all of them and catch up with them. But at the same time, I will be on WJZ for my Purple pregame show. You can check us out over at the Tailgoat, Jimmy's Famous Seafood Tailgoat, right across the street from M&T Bank Stadium. And we're going to have an amazing, fun time, lots of action and interaction over there. But then also, You can check me out, Missile Training at missiletraining.com. Missiletraining.com is where you can interact with me for all your human movement and sports performance needs. Doesn't matter the age, doesn't matter sport, team training, individual training. If you're a weekend warrior, let me know. We got everything right under one roof for you. All your recovery needs as well.
There you have it. Be sure you follow Q. Be sure to check out everything he has going on. He knows his stuff. And of course, you can check us out tonight over at the Locked On Ravens Squad Show, and Q pops on here just a tiny bit, maybe once or twice a week, right? We have Q on here all the time, and it's great. So be sure you go and see everything he's working on. But again, also appreciate you, Q. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button for everybody who's watching and listening in video form and audio form. We have that 5-day-a-week plus more daily Ravens coverage and content for you. We'll be back here later tonight, so be sure you stay tuned for that. We'll see you right back here soon on Locked On Ravens.